Hello everyone, back tuning into today's first video. We're doing the first autumn 2018 season model roundup for today's first video. We're going to get 12 long-range models together and see what they're all showing for the autumn of 2018 for only the first time this season. Now, coming up later on today, we're going to have the weekend forecast. It's going to be quite an interesting forecast, to say the least. Going to be quite a hot week coming up, so come back for that later on this afternoon. This video is going to be quite a long video, so if you can't watch it all in one go, don't worry, you will be able to watch this video on the autumn updates and forecast page later on today with a written summary, just going over everything that we discuss in the video. So as I say, we're going to get 12 long-range models together, and we'll shoot through them as quickly as we can, but obviously we could be here for a little time. As I say, this is only the first autumn season model roundup that we've done for this season. We've got two more to come in July and August, as well as several more analogues updates as well for the autumn of 2018. But there will be no analogues update for the autumn tomorrow, and no Gaz-Weather Study roundup either. The reason for that is that it's a really big day, so we've cleared the decks of all the other updates. And we're going to release the GazWeathers.com Winter 2018-19 NAO forecast. That will be released tomorrow at 10 AM. In the morning. So a very, very big day. It always brings in a lot of interest. So that will be with you tomorrow, which means no autumn analogues, no Gaz-Weathers Sunday roundup. But normal service will be resumed a week tomorrow. So I think that's pretty much everything that I've got to tell you. Just say that links to most of these long-range models can be found on the links page. And just enjoy the video. Hope you find it interesting and informative. So we're going to start off with the 500 millibar height anomaly from the Brazilian model first of all. Now this isn't covering the full autumn period yet. It stretches from August to October. And by the way, we're short of the JMA this month also. That will come on stream next month. But this is the 500 millibar height anomaly for August to October, and what the model is showing is that we've got this deep area of below average heights to the north and the northwest coast. Should just explain this model does things the other way round to any other 500 millibar height anomaly. So red, yellow and orange will be extrapolating to low pressure, and greens and blues will be extrapolating to high pressure. So we've got low pressure, below average heights to our north and northwest, with above average heights down to our southwest, and we're bringing in quite a strong jet stream across the Atlantic as well. So that's an Atlantic driven end to summer and early to middle autumn, quite wet and windy with that, you would have thought. Now, temperature anomalies are holding up quite well, coming out with above average temperatures here for the UK and the northwestern parts of Europe. So it is a milder than average late summer to early and mid-autumn. But look at that, substantially wetter than average, very close to the UK and for much of northern Europe as well. So that's telling us where that jet stream is. The jet stream is coming across the Atlantic and into Europe, rather like that. And it's an unsettled early autumn being signalled there by the Brazilian model. Bear in mind that does not cover the full autumn period yet. Next month the Brazilian model will stretch out through the whole of the autumn, and the JMA will come on stream as well. So the next model we're going to look at is the BOMA model. So this is our interpretation of the BOMA model. This is from the Bureau of Meteorology in Australia. I'd love to be able to show you the charts directly, but unfortunately I can't because it's a restricted access model. But I have been able to do an interpretation for you. Big thank you to James Ackwill for doing this interpretation for us. So the mean sea level pressure anomaly for the autumn, this is again covering full autumn period, as will all the models now in this update, so we won't be messing around with models that don't cover the full autumn period. Every model from now on, including this one, does cover the full September, October, November autumn 2018 period. So BOMA is going for above average heights to be to the south of the UK, and then we've got below average heights up to the north. So a relatively Atlantic driven signal here for the autumn from the BOMA model. Driest in the south and wettest and windiest, you would have thought, up in the north. Ties in quite nicely with the Brazilian model, actually. This is the temperature anomaly being predicted by BOMA, and it's coming out for a warmer than average autumn across the UK. In fact, many parts of Europe are coming out warmer than average. The warmest anomalies to average are actually in the south and the southeast of Europe, but the UK and Ireland still coming out a little bit milder than average for the autumn. And then the precipitation anomaly is looking like that. And it does show up this north-south split I was talking about. So across central southern Europe and into southern parts of England and Wales, it's a drier than average signal. But up in the north, across Scandinavia and across Scotland, it's a wetter than average signal. So it's a classic north-south split really for the UK. Wettest in the north and west, driest in the south and southeast, and quite an Atlantic-driven autumn as well, you would have thought. Right, let's go to Canada. I've gone from Australia through to Canada via Brazil, and this is what the CANSIPS model is showing from Tropical Tidbits. You can find the link to Tropical Tidbits on the links page. This is the mean sea level pressure anomaly for the autumn 2018 from CANSIPS, and it's showing above average pressure, generally quite centred close to the UK and out in the Atlantic. The low pressure with these blue colours up to the north, that's where the jet stream is as well. So it's going for quite a settled autumn actually, with a lot of dry weather, and you would have thought quite warm too. Temperature anomalies are coming out warmer than average for the UK and Ireland. Most of Europe, in fact most of Eurasia, coming out warmer than average too with CANSIPS. And then the precipitation anomaly is coming out ever so slightly drier than average, particularly so for England and Wales. So a mild and dry, quiet anticyclonic spring being predicted by CANSIPS. Let's keep it going and have a look at NASA. So this is the experimental seasonal model from NASA. This is the temperature anomaly for the autumn of 2018. It's coming out a bit milder than average for the UK and the most central parts of Europe as well. The precipitation anomaly is on the drier than average side. So we can't show you a 500 millibar height anomaly or a mean sea level pressure anomaly for the autumn with NASA, but it is showing a milder than average autumn. It's also showing a drier than average autumn, and you would imagine, you would assume that is being caused by quite an anticyclonic signal. So high pressure dominated autumn, I would have thought, from the NASA model. Right, this is the temperature probability from the IRI model. So this is a probability map from the International Research Institute, which is part of Columbia University in America. So this is our temperature probability for the autumn of 2018 for Europe, and you see that most parts of Europe are being predicted to have normal or average probability for the temperature. So not a big deviation expected in the UK and Ireland. In fact, not a big deviation expected anywhere across Central and Northern Europe this autumn. So it looks like going for a fairly average temperature anomaly. As far as precipitation is concerned, so close to average again for the UK, but maybe erring a little bit above normal with the probability. So it's not a strong signal, but possibly ever so slightly above normal with the probability for precipitation. You'll notice it is going for a very dry, or there is a signal, a probability is for a very dry autumn up over Scandinavia, or Norway, I suppose I should say, really more than Sweden. So with that, you will think it is predicted some sort of area of high pressure to be quite close to Norway. Maybe signs of a Scandinavian high which might account for that average temperature probability, because you've got high pressure over Scandinavia, or within the region of Scandinavia, I suppose it would be better to say. Early on in the autumn, that would be quite a warm signal, but by the time you get through to the end of the autumn, through to November, high pressure around Norway going to typically be associated with quite cold easterly winds, but maybe reaching a little bit to try and decipher that. I think the overall signal from the International Research Institute and Columbia University is for generally just average precipitation and average temperatures this autumn. Right, we'll have a look at Patal Peng and his analogues next. So this would be 200 millibar height anomaly for the autumn of 2018 from Patal Peng. How this works is that Patal looks at the sea surface temperature anomalies across the Earth in any given month, in this case during May 2018, and then from those sea surface temperature anomalies extrapolates a forecast looking at past years that had similar sea surface temperature anomalies. So this is a 200 millibar height anomaly from Patal Peng for the autumn of 2018, going for an Atlantic-driven autumn with below average heights out to west of the UK and above average heights down to our south. That would allow the jet stream to be coming in from off the Atlantic rather like that. Most of Eastern Europe is being covered by this big ridge, so a very warm and dry autumn would be predicted for much of Eastern Europe, but out in the west of Europe we are being influenced by that trough of low pressure in the Atlantic. So let's have a look at the temperature anomaly, and that's coming out significantly warmer than average with Patal Peng, going for a much milder, much warmer than average autumn for the UK and for Ireland. Many parts of Europe also coming out substantially warmer than average this autumn as well. Our precipitation anomaly is wet, however, so a warm but wet autumn is being predicted there by Patal Peng, with the UK and Ireland coming out with substantially above average rainfall, but also substantially above average temperature. So an Atlantic driven wet and mild warm autumn being predicted by Patal Peng's analogues. Right, CFS V2 next. This is a 700 millibar height anomaly from the CFS V2, and it's going for below average heights to be in the Atlantic, coming across the Atlantic like that with the jet stream as well. So that looks rather unsettled, and it is a little bit in line with Patal Peng's analogues as well. Let's have a look at the temperature anomaly for the autumn of 2018. And no real signal for temperatures, actually. Just most parts of Europe coming out with average temperatures this autumn. Possibly because it's too far away for the model to get a real handle on the temperature anomaly. I suspect if we had an Atlantic-driven autumn, as the model is showing, it would probably be a relatively mild autumn as well. Atlantic-driven autumns to start off with in September are likely to be quite cool, but by the time you get through to November, of course, if you're in an Atlantic-driven pattern, by November that's likely to be producing above average temperatures. And the precipitation anomaly looks a little bit wetter than average for southern parts of England and Wales, and down into sort of France, Spain, Portugal, coming out wetter than average. So again, definitely going for quite a wet signal in the west and the northwest of Europe. Notice, however, again, drier than average over Scandinavia, particularly Norway, possibly again indicative of some sort of Scandinavian high, which would add complications to the pattern. And I suppose something else you could say about precipitation anomalies, that much of southern Europe is actually coming out relatively wet. So it's the south of France, it's sort of Portugal, parts of North Africa, Italy, and then down into the Balkans and possibly even into Greece. Those areas coming out above average with precipitation, which is possibly indicative of the jet stream being on a little bit of a southerly track, may be caused by high pressure up there. But again, it is a weak signal. I'm possibly pushing that a little bit, trying to come up with that situation. Let's just say it's going for an unsettled autumn and quite a wet autumn as well, CFS V2. Right, so now I'm going to have a look at the Copernicus website in terms of the ECMWF and Meteo France season models. This is the mean sea level pressure anomaly from the ECMWF for the autumn of 2018, and it looks quite unsettled with below average pressure around Greenland and Iceland, no real high pressure anywhere close to us, and that would, you would think, be bringing the jet stream through rather like that. So it looks, if anything, like it's probably quite an Atlantic driven and unsettled autumn being predicted there by the ECMWF. The temperature anomaly is coming out warmer than average, so quite a mild autumn. Again, that is a signal that's reoccurring across many of these models for temperatures to be above average during the autumn. Precipitation-wise, so very close to average, really, not a strong signal either way, but I do think with the below average pressure that we see there across Greenland and Iceland through the autumn, that is likely to be producing quite a wettish signal during the autumn. This is Meteo France, mean sea level pressure anomalies from Meteo France with above average heights through the central part of the Atlantic down to our southwest, possibly a little bit of below average heights up to the north, but essentially I think again we just bring the jet stream through rather like that. Notice again quite a strong ridging signal up to the far north around Svalbard. There's a bit of high pressure going on up there with Meteo France. Temperature anomalies are lower with this model compared to the ECM. So the temperature anomaly for the UK and Ireland is much closer to average for this autumn, although to our south and east generally it is coming out, let's get rid of that, generally to our south and east it is coming out with a warmer than average autumn. And then as far as precipitation is concerned, again no real signal, maybe ever so slightly on the drier than average side, but precipitation anomalies with both the ECM and Meteo France are weak. I think broadly the models are anticipating a little bit of an Atlantic driven pattern this autumn, but beyond that we can't really say a great deal more. Beijing Climate Centre next. We're coming towards the end now with the first seasonal model roundup. This is a 200 millibar height anomaly from the Beijing Climate Centre for the autumn of 2018 with above average heights, high pressure centre very much over the top of the UK. So the pattern that we're in this summer, the Beijing Climate Centre, or this early summer, the Beijing Climate Centre wants to extend this pattern into the autumn. So a very anticyclonic signal there from the Beijing Climate Centre for the autumn. It means that temperature anomalies are coming out much warmer than average, coming out for a warmer than average spring for the UK and for much of Northern Europe as well. Precipitation-wise, you'll not be surprised because it's got that big ridge sitting over top of the UK. So precipitation-wise, it's drier than average and really quite substantially so as well. A drier than average and a warmer than average, high-pressure dominated autumn from the Beijing Climate Centre. This is JAMSTEC, so temperature anomalies from JAMSTEC are looking a little bit on the cool side for this autumn. It's the first model that's going a little bit colder than average. Possibly it is. I don't think we've seen many models in this update going for colder or cooler than average temperatures. JAMSTEC is often on the cooler side at this time frame, and then what it tends to do is that it tends to warm things up as it gets closer to the time that we're interested in. So it'll often, in the first update, it will often start off quite cool, and then by the third update it will often be going for a warmer than average season. So that's the temperature anomaly for the autumn of 2018 from JAMSTEC. It is a little bit on the colder than average side, but at this range this model very often will be. And then the precipitation anomaly, a little bit of a mixed bag, but no real signal either way, to be honest. So just close to average precipitation from JAMSTEC with rather cool temperatures. And then finally, we've got our very own UK Met Office seasonal model. This is GLOW 5, and this one is showing, and this mean sea level pressure, by the way, showing an area of high pressure sitting very, very close to the country with below average pressure out to the northwest. So the jet stream, similar in some ways to the Beijing Climate Centre, but jet stream doing something rather like that. We're on the warm side of the jet, so you would expect a milder than average autumn and probably quite dry as well. Temperature anomalies with the UK Met Office are coming out substantially warmer than average, and that has been a recurring theme across most of these models, you have to say. Warmer than average temperature anomalies for the autumn, and overall on the drier than average side. You can see where the jet stream is. The jet stream is up there, where it's a little bit wetter than average. But for most parts of the UK, and that may affect the far north of Scotland, but for most parts of the UK, actually, and much of Northern Europe as well, actually we come out with drier than average conditions for, now that's a little bit wrong, so I'm going to check that again. So that's gone wrong. So we're looking at September, October, November. We're looking at September, October, November. There, that's okay. But that one is showing July, August, and September. So I'm just going to flip that over. These lines ones do catch you out a little bit. So there we go. That is the correct precipitation. Good job I noticed that. I just caught that out corner of my eye. But it wasn't quite right. So let's just check that again. September, October, November. Yes. September, October, November. Again. Yes, that's okay. Temperatures are okay. That's the correct precipitation anomaly for the autumn of 2018. These lines ones do catch you out, don't they? So, again, you can see where jet stream is. So it makes very little difference, actually. Very similar to the anomaly that we're just looking at, which is through most of the UK, most of Northern Europe, it's drier than average. You can see where the jet stream is. The jet stream is up there, where it's wetter than average to the north and the west of the country. Much of the UK, much of Northern Europe has a drier than average signal for the autumn of 2018. So we made it, and we got to the end of our first seasonal model roundup for the autumn, and I think we've got a clear trend here, which is for a warmer than average autumn. Definitely there is a clear temperature trend, which is for temperatures to be above average, but within that a little bit of a mixed bag, because some of these models, UK Met and Beijing Climate Centre in particular, are going for a high pressure and anticyclonic autumn, which gives us a relatively dry signal for the autumn with those models. But other models are definitely more unsettled. I think the CFS V2 is more unsettled. Patel Payne's analogues more unsettled. So a bit of a mixed bag between the pattern and the precipitation. Around a 50-50 split, I think, between a dry and anticyclonic autumn pattern and a wet and low pressure dominated autumn pattern. Just one model, just count it, one, there we go, one model that's going for below average temperatures, and that is the Jamstech. But again, at this time frame, Jamstech is often one of the colder models. I mean, it tends to get warmer as you go further along. So that's how it's looking. It is a mixed bag, as you'd expect, because we are some time away. We'll do the second update at the end of July, and then the third season model roundup will be coming up at the end of August. There'll be more analogues in between, and then we'll get to, I think it's the 26th of August that we penciled in for the autumn forecast. So we'll get to the end of August, and we will release a GazService.com autumn 2018 forecast. Just to say, if you enjoyed this video and found it useful, then please can you consider making a donation to GazService. So there's two ways of doing this. You can become a patron for GazService. This is GazService Patreon page, where you can pledge an ongoing monthly payment to GazService donation and become a patron for GazService. It can be as little as $1 a month that you pledge to us, and that's where you become a patron for GazService. Alternatively, you can make a one-off donation via PayPal. This is GazService paypal.me page. And you can just come to this page and just make a one-off donation to help support the website, help fund the updates. We are primarily ads funded and will be remaining ads funded, but as time goes along, ad revenues are decreasing through things like ad blockers and people opting out of sort of cookies being served on their devices through GDPR. All of that kind of thing. It's just putting more pressure on ad revenues, which means we have to look at other funding options. We are going to keep all of the videos, all of the updates completely free of charge. There's not going to be any paywalls, no pay-per-view content, nothing like that. We just ask that if you can afford to make a donation and give us a little bit of money to help pay for website and the updates, then it's greatly appreciated, and a big thank you for doing that. A big thank you to all of our patrons, big thank you to all of our donors, and just really something really special that you're helping to do for Gaz Weathers and for myself. So big thank you to everybody for doing that. Right, so this video will be placed on the autumn updates and forecast page later on today. There'll be an extensive written summary that goes with it as well, just going over everything that we talked about in the video. Coming up later on today, or just after lunch, we're going to have the weekend forecast, so come back, that's going to be a hot one. And then tomorrow, very, very big day, as we have that NAO forecast for the winter of 2018-19. Come back for that 10 AM tomorrow. That's all for now. Thanks for watching.